So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Eazy Conversations. Thanks a lot to everyone who listened to the last episode featuring the homie Matt and I. Hope you enjoyed listening to us just having an easy conversation on there, no topic in mind, just free flowing, and I hope it was enjoyable for you all. So now for episode 106 of Eazy Conversations. I'm extremely excited, of course, to be back in the studio virtually with the homie Matt. Say what's up to the people.
What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a great day right now. Tonight's episode, a little different. We're not going to be talking about like movies or making a list. Be very chill. Why don't you tell the listeners, Eric, what we're going to be talking about tonight?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing our kind of, I would say, at least annual, if not semi-annual NHL coverage episode. There's been a lot going on in the last few weeks, anyways, in the NHL, and just as we're nearing the trade deadline, the playoffs, and all that, there, it's fun to get some predictions in before all the chaos truly breaks out in the post-season. So so that's what we're gonna be doing for this one. So I'm gonna do obviously a few classics there, like some Sens talk, some perhaps some Leafs coverage, and a few other things there. But I think first place to start is just a classic. What's gut check right now on the Sens? How are you feeling, Matt, about where we're headed as an organization at this point in the season, based on expectations and all that?
I expected the Sens to be a little more competitive for that 7 or 8 spot, in the conference. I think we've hit below expectations. Just looking at our talent up front on forward, we have way more skilled players than a lot of the teams that are above us, in my opinion. And I'll talk about that later, how teams like Carolina or Boston are all how the systems, basically a system is greater than individual star players. But the Sens, super exciting to watch, super fun to watch, dynamic offense. One of our power play is superb. Still the same old Sens though, right, Eric, on defense, playing in our own zone. Our goalies have been good, just not like Craig Anderson 2017 saving our season good type thing. So the Sens are not doing as well as I'd hoped, but it's really fun to watch. I've been having a blast watching these games this year, Eric. What are your thoughts on the Sens, quickly?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I feel like going into the year, me too, I definitely didn't take for granted that we'd make the playoffs, but I expected more different ways of either finding ways to win games in ways that we haven't in the past and not repeating patterns that we've seen for the last 3-4 years under the DJ Smith regime of just blowing leads late and kind of collapsing quite often, which what we saw against Chicago on Friday night with the Chris Neil retirement night. But yeah, so unfortunately not as much growth as I would have liked to see overall. We are kind of in a spot where we are fighting for a playoff spot, but I'll be truly shocked if we make the playoffs at this point. It's a little bit of too little too late. That same slow start killed us, as it always does. But agreed. I absolutely love our top 6. In my mind, it goes toe-to-toe with many of the top 6s at the top of the league. Very underrated skill in our top 6. When you look at Batherson, Norris, they're not really talked about that much. It'd be I can't say enough good things about Stützle and Tkachuk for this season. They've taken their game to the next level, and I think especially Stützle just scratching the surface. And then Claude Giroux has been absolutely outstanding for us. I don't think anyone can say he's been poorer than we expected him to be. He's been outstanding. And the DeBrincat has been kind of an interesting one to really dissect because we all expect him to be that goal scorer. He was labeled that 40-goal man incoming. He's going to score at will, it seems. And he's been more of a sneaky playmaker, honestly, and just hasn't had that luck maybe that he had in other seasons to actually finish. But overall, I have been pleased with his game. So, but yeah, it's like you said, the goalies and defenses still have been weaknesses in our game.
After watching Claude Giroux actually the whole game, watching him this season so far, not just seeing highlights of him on other teams, but he is the smartest player on the ice. He's so intelligent. He's not the fastest, but he doesn't let that he uses that he has limitations, and he's one of the best passers I've seen in a long time. I don't know, like we all knew he was like that, but just seeing him every play now, every night is fun. It's fun to watch. But like teams, I don't understand why why teams like that don't have a top six that looks like ours at all. You know, Seattle, Carolina, teams like that. Like it's the coaching, right, Eric? It's the GM, is the owner. Do you get rid of all three? Is my question. Like, do we need a complete like like a new image?
Yeah, so that's a big thought process. That's like in my house anyways, like Andy's not a DJ fan at all, and like I'm also becoming like not a DJ fan either, and I think that when there is new ownership, that they're gonna clean house from the top. Like that's what we're thinking out here anyways there, because
right.
I honestly think they should get rid of DJ already, to be honest, but then Dorion won't, because he knows that once there's a change that's gonna happen, like when there's actually gonna be new ownership, that he's then gonna be let go as well. So he feels like he owes it to his friend in DJ Smith to not get rid of him. But if you can make a push for the postseason, I think the move is to get rid of him at this point, because this is like an unprecedented amount of losing that I think any NHL team has seen under a coach, that no one truly looks at DJ as like the guy who's going to get you to that next level and being a competitive team in the playoffs. So yeah, I think end of this season, whenever the change in ownership happens, you kind of do have to start fresh and get people with more experience in those positions, people with proven track records. I do think also that you can find fresh faces, like a John Cooper, for example. Like he just rose through the ranks and became this like now god level coach. But for us, are we gonna find that next John Cooper coaching in like a lawyers men's league? And you know what I mean? So I think we got to go for experience. And then Dorion, like he's made a few good moves in the last year, but overall his overall track record is pretty. There's a lot of red in that ledger, as Black Widow would say. And I think you have to just scrap him too. So full clean slate, in my opinion. What do you think? Like, I don't wish for anyone to lose their jobs here, but at the end of the day, like, you're running a professional organization. You're paid to win games. This empire has not been the dynasty we were hoping it would be. So they got to go.
I couldn't agree more. I think with a different coach or GM right now, like we could be in a playoff spot. Like I think we have the pieces to be in the bottom, at the bottom of like the top 8. We've been trashing the defense. There are some positives though this year in Jake Sanderson. He's hurt right now, but man, the man's been a stud, our best defenseman. I mean, Shabbat. He sometimes when he holds onto that puck too long, he's just like his computer in his head stops working or something. He just loses it. But like, still a terrific skater. Zub is solid. You know, like we have 3, maybe 4 good, solid defensemen. And I saw Sanderson live against Buffalo, and he was like so fun to watch. Him and Darlene. Like Darlene, by the way, was like a treat to watch. Best player on the ice that night for both teams. But no, Sanderson's like a shining spot for the future. It's exciting. The Sens, I don't know, like, is it the players or the coach? Like, how come we don't have a system in our own zone? Are we being too cute? Like, Batherson is super guilty of this. Like kind of like Spezza 15 years ago, doing like too many fancy things and not doing the simple play. Stützle too. Stützle's super fun to watch. We'll sometimes lose the puck or do too much, right? Too much showboating. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the defense specifically?
Defense specifically, I agree. Emergence of Sanderson, huge bright spot. And surprisingly, I didn't think he'd be as like he did come in with a lot of hype though. Like it's not like it's truly out of nowhere, but still, like I felt like the expectations were so high that he was gonna step in and be this stud savior right away, and he like really has been, honestly. Like it's super fun to watch, and he's already looking like he's better than Shabbat. And as someone who has Shabbat in fantasy hockey, extremely frustrating to watch him play at times when he too is guilty of like not doing the simple play. He'll have like the one-timer come across on the power play where he can't take that shot, but instead, no, let's pass it off to someone else so they can get a one-timer at a maybe slightly more open net, and then they don't even capitalize on it. So I think a lot of the members on the team are guilty of that, of wanting that picture perfect Picasso painting play and not just going for the straight line north-south goal. Obviously, it's not that simple, but you know what I mean. Yeah, that's something that frustrates me with the Sens too. But no, on the defensive side, Sanderson is the future. I also want to say that Hamannik's been pretty solid this year. Like, he came in, people were furious at that acquisition because we could have just picked him up on waivers the year before, but ended up giving a second-round pick for him. So that did look like a kind of a misstep on Dorian's part where he could have gotten him for nothing, but instead ended up... For Vancouver, that was a win in that they got rid of Hamannik's salary and they also got a second-round pick. It should have been the opposite, where Hamannik and a second-round pick should have came our way. But that's, again, Dorian just being fleeced by GMs left and right. That's just boilerplate Dorian for you. All that to say, Hamannik's been pretty solid on that shutdown pair with Sanderson.
Yeah.
Zub is Zub. Like, he's... I do kind of worry about the injuries, though. They're starting to pile up a little bit. I hope he can find a way to stay healthy throughout the rest of his tenure with us. But someone I want to mention that actually Big Al, shout-outs, mentioned when he came on the pod in 2019, well ahead of his years, Maxence Guenette, someone that is kind of forgotten in our organization. He's a 6'3", I want to say around 200-pound right shot D, where now there's these rumors that we're looking to acquire a right shot D in Mackenzie Weegar or Colton Pyreco, who I'm just going to say it right now, I hope we stay far away from at this point in time. Like, the guy has 7 more years at 6.5, deteriorating asset. I don't want to see us go for Pyreco. Even Weegar, honestly, I'm not 100% sold on. I would prefer we stay maybe in-house for those two names anyways. We'll see what happens. I may be completely wrong if we end up getting them, and it's a great pick. But I do think there is a solid future in our own farm system in Gannett specifically. And then if one of Lassie Thompson and JBD can pan out, that's perfect in my books. But there's a lot to be excited about on our back end especially. It's not talked about enough, I feel like.
Yeah, you said a lot of good stuff there, Eric. And I feel like Hamannik, Sanderson, Shabbat, Zub, we just need a couple more just defensive defensemen for 5 and 6. But I think
Agreed.
Switching to the goalie, Forsberg, I think is the man that can get us to the playoffs. We might not win a cup with him, but Forsberg, I think is solid. Showed some great play this year. I'm a big fan of Forsberg. What do you think?
I like Forsberg too. He kind of came out of nowhere in my books. He was like a perennial backup on a lot of teams and then found his spot to shine in Ottawa. Was really good last year. Unfortunate with the injuries this year. So I don't know what we're going to see out of him next year. Talbot's a goner. I feel like we need to trade Talbot at this point to get some sort of asset back for him, because there's no way he's re-signing with us. So I think next year we're going to roll with Forsberg and Mads Søgaard, who I have liked his play a lot, honestly. Now, at the time we're recording, Talbot's supposed to come back on Friday, so Søgaard's going to continue to be the back. Yeah, so Forsberg's done for the rest of the year, right? So that was tough to watch against Edmonton there. Yeah. The double tear, I want to say, in his ACL or MCL, that was brutal. But I think next year you roll a Søgaard and Forsberg tandem to eventually lead to a Søgaard and Levi Merilainen tandem, who's our other goalie prospect playing in Finland, who's lighting it up out there. We saw Mandolese play. That was a great story, him getting his win in New York. Awesome to see. But consensus is they don't really see him as but you never know with goalies. So unpredictable. Sure. But they don't see him as being a starter at the NHL level. But I think Søgaard and Merilainen have a shot at being that tandem. Unfortunately, we traded away Gus Bus. I was always a fan of his. But I can't sit here and say that I wasn't excited when we traded for Talbot. I thought that was a nice win now move. It just didn't really, unfortunately, turn out to be that. So, you take a shot, you miss sometimes. Can't all be hits.
Well, you know a lot more about the goalies than I do. I just know the top 3. I was as were you, Eric, but we were at the game, the Chris Neal night Friday, the 17th. Sens against Chicago, and they retired Chris Neal's jersey that night to the rafters, number 25. Yep. My question is and And I was talking about this at work all day, all week with coworkers. But like this, a player like Chris Neil deserved to have his number retired, because I looked at like Toronto and Montreal's alumni of retired jerseys, and I'm like, Chris Neil, you wouldn't mention his name in the breath as their stars, right? Is it because it's Ottawa and like he's only our third guy? We have to put somebody. Like, what are your thoughts on selecting that type of player for that big honor?
Mm-hmm. Well, you're right. So it's tough to compare us to those two franchises that have that more rich history of like true stars that actually played there and stayed there for a long time. I feel like it's a little different for us too, because we have seen a lot of great players come through Ottawa. Unfortunately, they've also come through Ottawa, came and left. So they haven't spent enough time in the organization to truly merit the jersey number retirement process, which Chris Neil kind of default falls under that. And also, to a certain degree, it is impressive what he did. Like 1,000 games as an enforcer in the at the NHL level. We're never going to see that again. A straight up enforcer goon like Neil. We won't see that again. And it's kind of what he meant to those things you always hear, like the community and what he was, like the heartbeat of the team. It flies for us, again, for those reasons, like that we don't have those other players. We have like candidates for down the road if they stay with us. Like I do believe that if Tkachuk stays for his whole career, like 7's going up for sure. But do I think Tkachuk's going to stay his whole career here? I don't. Knowing the Tkachuk family history, like we got him for another 6 years, but I have to imagine if there is no success in those years, that he'll probably look to greener pastures, so to speak. So, and then there's also Carlson. You never know if 65, that's probably a number that shouldn't be worn again in Ottawa. So I could see EK, but I don't know. That's he'd be the next one, obviously there. What do you think? What are your thoughts on Chris Neil going up? I have no problem with it. First of all, like all that to say, I'm happy to see his number up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I'm happy too, because even if you're a non-hockey fan in Ottawa, you know the name Chris Neil. Like he transcends like hockey, and he's just a face of the community and tough as nails. Like you said, what he did. Well, now it's not even like a role anymore on team. Now it's like a grinder that can fight. Like there's no people like Chris Neil anymore. And like when they talked about it that night, like they explained it. Chris Phillips spoke, and like we were all. He said what we were all thinking, like why he's up there. I told every Habs fan and Leaf fan at work that, like, I'm like, listen, and I convinced them slowly with the community stuff, with the 1,000 games, like he never was suspended, which adds an element of like class and respect, right? Like he wasn't dirty. He was not a dirty player. I mean, he may have had some questionable hits, but who hasn't?
Yeah.
I like when they mentioned 2017 when we put him in against the Rangers, and then we eliminated the Rangers after that. Like, he just made everyone 2 feet taller. So, great leader. It was great. I had such a fun time at that game up until like the end where we blew the 3-1 lead. But no, it was a fun night for sure.
It was very special.
Go ahead, Eric.
No, you go ahead, man.
It was my second game this year, and 2 games is a lot for me. I usually only go to 1 game a year. So, like, I'm getting slowly, like, more. I love watching my Sens this year, and even if they don't win, it's fun to watch the Stutzlas, the Bathersons, Giroux, all that. And live, there's nothing like it, right? Like, you've probably been to, what, like a dozen games, or?
Yeah, like a little less than that, I'd say, like, probably 8-ish. 8, yeah, in that range, I would say, like give or take 2.
Nice.
It's always fun to watch, and like that could be a transition to another team that is fun to watch, but and has also had the same amount of success as us in the last few years, which would be the Toronto Maple Leafs, for different reasons and different ways, of course, of quantifying success. But they're still always fun to watch. Like I love to hate them, I love to cheer against them, and they always make it stressful for me watching because they can score at will, it seems. And now. They've added another weapon to their arsenal in Ryan O'Reilly from the St. Louis Blues, which I was pretty in one when I saw that trade come through on Friday night after the Chris Neil retirement game. not what I wanted to see after that loss. I was furious. Like, I was not happy to see that. While, yes, O'Reilly has struggled this year, already has found new life being injected in this other elite top six. And I think if they don't win a round with O'Reilly, like, are you kidding me? That's the truth. I will say, like, the team actually is cursed if they don't win a round with this guy now. This is insane. How, like, they are built to win. They're in their own heads. They have to get out of their own heads, I think. That's the only explanation at this point. What did you think when you saw that trade go through?
I mean, if I put my mind, like, I imagined I was a Leaf fan, and I'm like, man, this is an amazing trade. As did all the Leaf fans at my work confirm. Like, they love this. I thought it was a great trade for Toronto, really. I mean, as of the day of recording, he had a hat trick. He had a hat trick last night against Buffalo, I believe. He's playing in his hometown. He's happy, you know. Like, in St. Louis, it wasn't going well, and I feel like that team's imploding a little, you know. Tarasenko's gone. O'Reilly's gone. You got Binnington, which I heard he's like a toxic goalie. Hear no good things about Binnington. I don't know. So Toronto. Here's the problem, though, Eric. They might face like Tampa Bay in the first round. So what do you say to that, right? Tampa could easily beat them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like that's gonna be the matchup, right? Like, no, they're not gonna catch or leapfrog Boston. Boston's just an absolute wagon right now. And it's going to be, they're fighting for home ice at this point, right? And I think last year Toronto had home ice and that didn't save them either. But I think that, it's, now Tampa has to make a move, I think. Because I hope they make a move, honestly, because I think Toronto would have them. I feel like Tampa at some point is going to run out of gas. That in the last 3 years they've gone to the Cup Finals the last 3 years. And have been a dominant team for so long. And it's only right, like, if you're looking at this as a Hollywood script, this would only make sense that Toronto finally slays that dragon, that, like, 5-headed dragon. It would be 7, actually, for all the times they've lost in the first round. Dragon against Tampa, and then go on to win it all. Like, I really believe, I'm not even saying this as, like, a way to jinx Toronto. I truly think if they win a round, they can win it all. And there's no better team to beat than Tampa in the first round, who's been the class of the East, if not the league, the last few years. So, kind of a perfect storm for them. I just hope they don't do it. Honestly, I hope Nick Paul summons his former Sens energy and rises to the occasion again when it matters most. And also in that trade, like, I think adding Noel Acciari as like a depth guy is a good. I think of the gif of Jesse in Breaking Bad when he says, like, he can't keep getting away with this. Dubas, he makes these brilliant trades and gives up next to nothing. I don't understand. And then the moves just don't work for them. But he makes the moves happen. The players just don't execute. Right? Like last year they got Giordano, the year before Foligno, now O'Reilly. And they didn't give up much, which is what I hated, honestly. They didn't even give up a prospect. There's picks. That's it. It's wild. Do you want to see the Leafs win, Matt? Like, are you on the same camp as me, or would you be okay to see them win? And like, have they lost enough? What do you think about that?
I mean, deep down, I wouldn't be upset if they won the. I don't know. I don't hate the Leaf. I like the Leaf players. I hate the Leaf fans. I know I'd hear about it all month, all freaking year at work. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the fans that make it annoying. But honestly, I'd be happy for the players. I'm not going to lie. I'd be happy for Tavares, Marner, Matthews, Nylander, all of them, Giordano. Like, I'd be really happy for them. The first round for the Leafs is going to be the toughest. Like you said, I think once they get past the first round, if and when they get past the first round, they'll be like, holy shit, we won a round, and they're going to blow up. Like, go catch on fire. I think the East is going to beat each other up this year, though. And then when we play the West, I think, like, Edmonton sneaky could get in there, and, like, this might be their year, Eric. Edmonton, on the strength of, like, McDavid's even having an even better season than he's ever had, which is unreal. Him and Draisaitl, like. But the first lines cancel each other out in the playoffs, however. So there's a lot to think about there. Like, who do you like in the West?
So tough, right? Like, it's You're right. I agree. I think the East is so much stronger. It has been in the regular season anyway. So that by the time they get to the finals, whoever emerges out of the West won't have had as tough of a path to the finals.
Yeah.
So I've liked Dallas a lot most of the year. They've slowed down a bit lately. Like Robertson, for example, like he started off the year like on absolute fire, but he's been like tailed off quite a bit. But they're still a very strong team and have like sneaky depth. And there's rumors of them like maybe trying to acquire Patrick Kane, which I think if they can add him, he's frustrated that he didn't get traded to New York. Like that was the rumor that he wanted to go there and that didn't happen. So if he goes there, I like them a lot because I don't think there are that many teams that are that strong in the West. I like Edmonton for sure. Seattle's in a playoff spot, but I don't know if they have what it takes to win. Vegas is a mess. They're going to get in, but I don't see them as a real threat. LA, same thing. I like Colorado still, honestly, probably. Like they're probably the easiest team to pick because now they don't have as much pressure, right? It's like playing with the house's money, and they haven't been that dominant in the regular season. So they've just taken their time, carried their energy over to when it matters most.
Yeah.
And McKinnon always steps up, and that's why I've always said I prefer McKinnon to a lot of these top players in the league, like Matthews, for example, where McKinnon finds another gear in the playoffs and Matthews doesn't. It either stays the same or even drops down even lower. So just for the Leafs again, like it'll come down to those. You said like the top lines cancel each other out, but I think it'll have to be up to those top guys to get the Leafs over the hump to win a round. But yeah, in the West, I like Colorado still. I'd love to see Edmonton though, but I hate Edmonton's depth. I don't even think they have depth, honestly. Like it's brutal.
Not good.
No, not good. And at Calgary too, I don't even know if they're gonna make it. It's like Minnesota. Like what are they at this point?
Calgary.
It's
Calgary,
very random.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, Calgary with Huberto, that was rough. Oof.
Not a good first year, that's for sure.
Yeah, true. No, there's been a lot of every year there's players that emerge, now they're in the top 10 in scoring, and you would have never have thought that, especially when you're doing a fantasy draft.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to take this time now to say what a huge mistake it was to not keep Brad Marchand as one of my keepers. That's all I'm going to say on it. We're not going to discuss it further. Still lighting it up. And Pasternak, we always knew he was this good, but second in scoring, amazing. Tage Thompson for Buffalo. Did he come out of nowhere, or am I just not into the know, Eric? This was expected?
Not expected at all. Actually, well, if we're talking about fantasy hockey, I had him last year in the pool, and he had a great year. He had I think 38 goals, so just under 40. And I thought, and then he got a big contract in the offseason too. And I straight up just said this is not a replicable year. I don't think he'll be much more than this if he reaches this again. I thought he maybe overperformed, and I would say that overperformed. That's what I thought anyways, because prior to that, he hadn't done anything at the NHL level. I think his career high was 20 points tops the year before then. And then he exploded last year, and now this year is just on another level. He's looking like he could get 100 points and not even sweat doing it. And he is sick. He's a unicorn of a player. He's 6'7", rangy, skilled centerman with a bomb of a shot. Now he is sick, honestly. It is cool to see too that he was a guy who St. Louis drafted. Buffalo got him for O'Reilly from St. Louis, and there was so much unknown about him if he'd ever pan out. And yes, let me tell you. And it's great to see these new players become keepers in our leagues, and that's what makes it fun. That before it was pretty stagnant of always the same guys who you never get a chance to draft. But now there's these younger guys coming up and shaking the game up a little bit. So it is fun to see. But yeah, Pasternak, he's a free agent after this year. He could easily become the highest paid player in the league if he plays hardball with Boston anyways. But I could also see him taking less and just staying with that team. That Boston completely caught me by surprise. I thought for sure we'd see a decline with this team. I don't think a soul on earth would have thought that Ullmark would be having a Vezina winning. I think he's going to win the Vezina most likely year. That came out of nowhere. And just the players have shown no sign of aging. Like Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak, DeBrusque has, I think, elevated his game. Krejci's back and killing it. And then Lindholm and McAvoy as a 1-2 punch. But again, if they end up winning the President's Trophy, I don't know if I have them winning the Cup. It's very rare that President's Trophy winning teams win. But we saw Boston against Ottawa the other day, and like that's a dominant team.
It's like the city of Boston has a winning sports culture. It's infuriating. They're just good at every sport, which is why I think Pasternak would stay with Boston. It's just a great city to play sports in. You said a lot of good things there. I wanted to. Speaking of like in the top 10, Erik Karlsson. You know, Brent Burns isn't there anymore. It's Karlsson's defense now. Like he's the leader. Is Erik Karlsson back to where he was like in 2017? I hope he is. I mean, I don't watch San Jose games. I just see him on the points, like on the score sheet. But like, man, like is it his second? Like, is it like a phoenix? Did he rise from the ashes? And is he back as the man we once knew? You know.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, right? Like, I'm super happy for him, and I even said at the start of the year, I'm like, he's going to cool down. Like, this is just a hot start. And not that I was wishing anything bad for him at all, but I just didn't. It came out of nowhere in my books, but he's done it all year long, and I hope he wins the Norris. I think he has to at this point. I know it's not all about offensive production there, but for playing on a terrible San Jose team, from what you hear, like, he does great things for them, obviously statistically speaking. But yeah, it's great to see. I don't know about the future though, and like there's talks about him getting traded to teams. I would worry about that personally. Like 4 more years at like $11 million. I don't know if this is like what you have to come to expect from Karlsson now going forward. He is still in his 30s. I don't know, but it is very fun to watch. And I actually just want to break some news here for us that something just came through for Ottawa actually. So we have finally gotten rid of the player that fans have been clamoring for us to trade for all these years. Nikita Zaitsev has been dealt to the Chicago Blackhawks.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that opens up, hey, Maxence Guenette, it's time to call the boy up. But we gave Chicago a 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick in different years to take on Zaitsev. So that's a trade that just happened just now.
That's a good trade for Chicago. I mean, for us too, but like getting 2 picks, solid for them.
Yeah, and like for us, exactly, it frees up some cash. I think we had Zaitsev for at least 1 more year. I hope so. Like, he must. There's no way he was a UFA. But yeah, so that just happened. But yeah, Karlsson, great to see. And like I was gonna say, if he gets traded to another team, I don't know if you come to expect that from him down the road again. But it's fun to watch. I'm super happy for him.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier, but Stützle, like he won Player of the Week, I believe. He got like 10 points. He's 10 points in the last 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
He's a player. Stützle is a player. He can get like 2-3 points every night. He has that opportunity, and he has the skill for it. You know, kind of like McDavid has the opportunity to get 3-4 points a night. It's so like Stützle's doing great. I think he's got 59 points or something. Kachuk's right up there, like maybe a point or 2 more than Stützle, but like they're both doing so great on the score sheet, getting their points. Kachuk literally falls every time he's on the ice. He falls like every shift, but like he's so good at retrieving the puck and checking. And you're like, how does he do it? He's a freaking like elastic. He's like a superhero out there, you know. Like he's just gangly but like skates fast and gets there, checks you, gets the puck, makes nice passes, nice shots. He's like one of a kind.
He is
tough as nails too.
Kachuk the Conqueror.
Yeah.
No, and honestly, he's much better in my opinion. Like honestly, I haven't noticed him falling that much this year. I've noticed him more in prior years where he was like always falling, and I haven't seen as much this year. I feel like that's the thing. It's like that's what I was always saying too. It's like once he figures out how to stay on his feet, he's so strong and such a strong skater that he's gonna be a force, and he is. Like you have to put him up there as like at least top 5 power forward in the league, honestly, if not number 1. I don't really think there are many players who play a game like him who will fight, hit, just out muscle you on the boards, score, has good skill. Like, he is another unicorn, honestly, like a throwback player and really fun to watch. Same with Suits, though. Like, we have these two locked up for the next few, like, 6+ years at what looked like high salaries, but they're already looking like they're exceeding the value of their contracts, and those are going to be steals when you look at their contracts in a few years and the cap's gone up.
Oh yeah.
So, like, we're in a really good position. And that's another thing too. Like, Norris has been out like the majority of the year too, so we've missed him down the middle. I look at next year very positively in a Zaitsevless era, in the Maxence Guenet time to succeed, and it's going to be very exciting for us with like everyone with another year of experience under their belt. And speaking of young talent coming to the league, I do want to ask you, Matt, is there a team that you would like to see who at the bottom of the standings right now get the prized first overall pick in Connor Bedard? Do you have a team that you'd like to see? If I were to list like the teams at the bottom of the standings, is there anyone, or just off the top, like, is there anyone you'd want to see him go to?
I think it'd be cool if he went to Chicago.
Okay.
It'd be like the rebirth of Chicago. The thing is, I don't want to see him in Columbus. I don't want to see him in Arizona. You know, I don't want to see him like, okay, Montreal. If Montreal like finishes, let's say 5th last, and they get him, like, it'd be cool. Like, I don't know. Here's the thing: I hate Montreal fans too, and they like wouldn't leave us alone. And Montreal would be great again with Bedard. You know, they rebuild around him.
Yeah.
I'd rather he go to Montreal than Arizona, Columbus, or like any team. Like, I don't know, the teams where there's no hockey market. Chicago would be my number one choice. I hope he goes to Chicago. Just, it's a great hockey city. It's an original 6 team. It'd be awesome. How about you?
So I do not want him to go to both Chicago and Montreal, honestly. So especially Montreal. Like, Montreal's probably my least favorite for him to go to, because like you said, then we'd hear all about him. We'd grow to hate this guy too. And I don't want to cheer against Bedard necessarily, but I would not cheer for him if he was on the Habs, straight up. So I want them to finish 5th last and then stay 5th last, and maybe even get leapfrogged by a few teams who are further than them, higher than them in the standings, so they get the 7th overall pick. And Chicago, I don't want them to go there either, because like with the things that have happened with that organization in the last few years, kind of sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. And they were good for so long. I feel like they haven't been bad enough for long enough to already get like another. But even if they got them, like, they have no one in their prospect pool. Like, they won't be, even if they were to win the lottery, they would not be a good team start of next season. I want Columbus to get him, honestly. I feel like that city has just been robbed of so much in terms of stars that have gone through there. Kind of like us in a sense. So maybe I feel some sort of affinity with Columbus. And they say, like, sneaky good city to live in. Like, they have a good little fan base. You just don't hear much about them. I would like that for them. And then my other pick would be, and like, people don't love this because they already have a lot of good young talent, but Anaheim or San Jose. And I'd probably say San Jose before Anaheim, just because they don't have as much set up for the future. If Anaheim wins the lottery, look out. They have so much skill coming up, and would be a pretty nasty team, like, very quickly, I think. But that would probably be my ranking of, I want Columbus, then San Jose, Anaheim. And Vancouver, I don't really care for. I know he's from there, but I don't really want Vancouver to get him either. Yeah.
Well, Bedard, let's say he goes to Anaheim. Will Bedard be Anaheim's McDavid, or he's a totally different type of player? I know you probably watch more of Bedard play than me, so I pose you the question. Like, is he that much of a game changer, Eric?
It's so tough to say, though. Like, so on the night that McDavid got 100 points in the NHL, Bedard actually got 100 points in the WHL on the same night. And he got like 100 points in 40 some games, like less than 50 games. So more than 2 points a game per, yeah. It's still the WHL, it's not the NHL, and people are comparing what he's doing to McDavid. What McDavid's doing in the NHL, in my opinion, is way more impressive than what Bedard is doing in the WHL, which I can't take anything away, extremely impressive. He's dominating the WHL on from what they say, a pretty bad team too. So I will have to wait and see what he does at the NHL level. And again, at the World Juniors, he was very dominant. But I'm just curious to see how he's going to translate at the next level, where the competition is like all grown men. He is a smaller player as well. I do believe that he has a very good shot and like sneaky, shifty release and great hockey IQ. We'll see what he does. Like, it's all about what he does at the next level, and I think he's gonna have a great shot to be a superstar at the NHL level. I'll say right now, I'll be very shocked if he ends up being better than McDavid, because in my mind, what McDavid does at this level, well, I've never seen that anyways, and it's spectacular to watch. So if he can bring that kind of level of play to the NHL, like, that's amazing. I'm all for it, but I can't expect that from him. I feel like that's unfair to say that he should be as good as McDavid is.
Actually, I just thought you said a lot of good things there. Two things. One, back to Columbus, it would be cool because we would see more Columbus games. We would see Bedard play more than like if he went to like Anaheim and the game's super late at night. So that would be cool. And Columbus, I guess it's just because, I don't know, Ohio, like, do they deserve, are they really hockey fans? But they have a lot of exciting players right now, you know. Okay, McDavid. I remember when Crosby came in the league and was the best player in the league and dominated, and it's not even close to what McDavid's doing right now. Like, Crosby was great, but McDavid's like a notch above. It's insane. Like, I love watching I watch the Edmonton highlights after every game just to see McDavid. And I know he's always like on the points on the score sheet. It's crazy. It's almost not fair, you know, like, and like Nugent Hopkins having a great season.
Yes.
Draisaitl, Hyman. Again, though, their downfall is going to be their goalie and back end. So, and their depth, like you said, no depth, right? So, yeah, fun to watch. But man, are they gonna go to the conference final again? I'm not sure.
Yeah, like, easier path again. If you look at, like, I think they'll end up in a top 3 spot in their division, and then depending on if they're the first seed, then they'll play a wild card, which could be like if they play Calgary again. I don't know if I think Calgary can beat them. I don't think so. I feel like Seattle, though, like, they do play that playoff style hockey of just like grind it out, no superstars. They just everyone buys in, punches into work, and put their head down and grind. But no, I think, and we saw it last year, McDavid took his game to the next level again and willed his team past Calgary, that a lot of people had, myself included, had as being a better team than Edmonton, and Edmonton like swept them. So you never know, but I believe in McDavid above most people in the league. Like, if I had to pick one player, it's Braden Point as well. Of course, everyone knows I'm a fan of, but McDavid is one of those dudes that takes it. He wants to win, right? Like, he's hungry at this point. 8 years in the league. He's the new McKinnon now, who doesn't have his cup and has fought, maybe not as much as like a Tavares, I guess. I don't give a shit about Tavares personally. But yeah, and honestly, I don't even think we need to talk about the Habs. Like, they're going nowhere fast. No. So
no, we don't.
People anyway, I'll just say it really quickly. This is an argument I heard on TSN 1200. I'm sure if you could have it with any Habs fan who would talk about which core would you rather have, the Sens core or the Habs core. It's the Sens, and it's not even a conversation. Like, the Habs is no one who really interests me that much. You have Caulfield and Suzuki, sure, great players, but I would take Stützle, Tkachuk, Norris, maybe DeBrincat, honestly, over them. And even, like, I believe in Pinto's upside, and then, like, Ridley Gregg say that he's better than them right now is definitely crazy. But we have, and then Sanderson and Shabbat, like, they don't have a defenseman that comes close to either of them, in my opinion. Like, Caden Gooley, get out of here. It's not a... Hope there's some Habs fans listening to this. Show me something otherwise. Like that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't follow Montreal at all, really. Like, I couldn't care less about them. I do work with a lot of Habs fans, and they get pissed off every time they win a game because they're like, "Oh, we're trying
Right.
to tank here." But we were talking about Calgary quickly with Edmonton. Like Calgary did a couple of trades to be even better this year, but I think it did not pan out with Huberdeau and Uyghur. It doesn't seem like they got better, and then Kachuk's playing Kachuk's having the best season of his career if I'm not mistaken. He has a lot of points. A lot of underperformers on Calgary, I think. Just from having a couple of them on my fantasy team, I was like, oh, they're not doing as well as last year, and that's just deceiving. Is there too much pressure in Calgary? Are those Canadian cities too much pressure to play in, like Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton? Like, it's pretty serious down there.
Mm-hmm.
They care a lot about their hockey. Every Canadian team, actually. What am I saying? So, is it just too much?
I think
it's a weird team.
Yeah, I think it's like the shakeup that happened, right? Like the Kachuk and Goodell leaving, and then you bring in Huberdeau and Uyghur. And what I've seen is a lot of and this is something that has been said about him from a lot of people, is Daryl Sutter. Like, I think he is starting to wear off a little bit, and guys are maybe getting sick of playing for him. Like Matt Kachuk went on a podcast and strongly hinted at one of the main reasons he didn't want to stay in Calgary was because of Sutter. Like, he wouldn't play him enough, and his power play time went down when Sutter became the coach, and he was not a fan of that. And yeah, when you saw that trade happen, you look at, my God, Calgary got a lot for Kachuk. There was, in my opinion, it looked like not a steal, but a more lopsided in Calgary's favor, when it's turned out to be the complete opposite. They call it the Matt Kachuk trade, and he's the only one who's lived up to the hype of that trade. He's killing it in Florida, 4th in the league in points, and Florida's not doing that great either. That's a team that you look at next year for bounce back in general, and you shouldn't look at any sign of regression from Kachuk. He should continue to be a point producing machine. It's will Calgary bounce back next year is the question that I don't know. Huberdeau, I mean, I'm surprised he's doing this poorly, but also Sutter, maybe not the kind of coach that he is rewarded under. So if they get a coaching change there, he might be rejuvenated next year. I don't know. But at the end of the day, Kachuk was the biggest player in that trade, and Calgary lost him, so that hurt him. And then Goodrow, like I said, are walking. So they lost their top line, which is outstanding last year. So that's a big loss for them. Kadri coming in is it's tough to form chemistry when you have so much change happening, right?
Yeah. I the Daryl Sutter. This back to DJ. This sense I think they like playing for DJ. He's a good coach in the sense that he's well liked by the players. He's always cool and calm and doesn't lose his shit talking to the media after. Very cool, even coach. So I think we're not doing poorly because of DJ's coaching style. It's just maybe he doesn't push he doesn't implement a system, or is it the assistant coaches that are the problem? Do we need different players? I don't think Ottawa has that same problem of we're playing for a coach we don't like. The atmosphere is bad. I think we have good atmosphere right now. The players are doing well, bonding well together. It's just, oh man, I don't know, playing in our zone, or I don't know what it is, honestly, with Ottawa. Back to Ottawa, all the giveaways, it's frustrating night after night. We blow a lot of leads. Yeah.
But no, I agree. That is systems though, right? Which would be I agree. I don't think they don't like DJ and that they don't like playing for him, but it's that comes down to, does he have the systems in place for the players to succeed to the best of their abilities? I think is no. I don't like how he makes and doesn't make adjustments. I actually heard something pretty great the other day on the radio about how this applied for the Super Bowl specifically, how Philadelphia at halftime was up, right? They're up by a bit. I forget exactly how much. But they made no adjustments because they were winning. And Andy Reid, the coach for Kansas City, made a bunch of adjustments and caught Philadelphia off guard because they were oh, we're winning right now. We don't need to make any changes. And Kansas City was we have nothing to lose. Or we're losing, we have to make changes. So the takeaway from it was teams who are doing something well get caught in the false sense of security where like, okay, we're doing one thing well, like nothing needs to change, when that shouldn't necessarily be the case. And you should always be looking to make adjustments and modify your systems to find something that will not become predictable. And maybe that applies more to football than hockey, but I did find that interesting where, and that's just a tie back to DJ, he makes adjustments, but I think the wrong ones, and then doesn't make adjustments, and they're the wrong ones as well. When we win a game with Austin Watson in the lineup, and then he thinks, oh, we have to have him back in the lineup again. And then only when we truly start to be in a hole is when he'll make an adjustment. Whereas I think that it shouldn't be that, okay, this worked well because everything was this way. We have to keep it exactly like, you know what I mean? And that actually is something that happened a lot with our goalies. He overplayed our goalies. 3 games in a row, you get Talbot. 3 in a row, you get Forsberg. It's like, switch him up a little bit. We have a back-to-back. Play the one who's been rested a little more on the first night, and then play the one who's played the last 2 games in a row on the second one. Little things like that are things that really frustrate me and seem very simple. But I do think that in his mind, he thinks, okay, we've won 3 in a row, which hasn't happened often, so let's keep rolling with Talbot and Nets kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's those, the decision-making at times is, it's obviously easy for me to say from the sidelines there, but questionable at times, I think.
Wow, good dissection, Eric. I agree. I couldn't agree more with what you said. What doesn't piss me off, but what is frustrating is watching Carolina, which I can't even name you more than like 5 of their players. Well, maybe more, but like, how are they winning so well? Like, how are they doing so well with, I guess everyone bought into the system and is just playing like Vegas in their first season in the league, or playing like Seattle right now. Like, just everyone goes all out, and they have they have a lot of strong players, don't get me wrong, but like, does Ottawa have a better top 6 than Carolina? I think so on paper, right? But why are we doing so poorly, and why is Carolina doing so well? Coaching, the goalie, and it's not Anderson, right? Like, he's been hurt. I don't even know his name. But it's a little frustrating watching that and being like, Ottawa should be better than Carolina on paper.
But you said it,
in my opinion. What do you think?
It all comes down to exactly what you said. It's system and how they play the game. It's I listened to an interview with Rod Brindamore, and he said like he can't say what their formula is, because they did ask him like, okay, like, what's your system? He's like, well, I can't say that. I have to kill you. And basically like, but you can kind of figure it out by just watching them. They just play a more, they take more risks. They play a more like balls to the wall game, and just more offensive, and that maybe gives up more defensively, but it also creates more offensively. That they've crunched the numbers, and it seems like if you take enough risks and chances, you'll be rewarded over the amount of times that you'll be allowing goals against. It's something along those lines anyway. Like, I'm obviously not an expert of Carolina's game. I don't watch them play, but that is the system they have in place. And maybe they have a benefit of also having like pretty decent top 4. Like, they have good defensemen who, while their forwards are allowed the chance to take those risks, they can rely on their defensemen to maybe bail them out when it doesn't work out, right? Like, they have guys like a Brett Pesce, for example, super underrated. Like, you wouldn't know his name, but he just like gets the puck out of his zone. Like how about even more random? Scott Mayfield on the Islanders, just like off the board, off the glass and out kind of guy. Never gonna show up on the score sheet, but is like a good defensive defenseman. And I've long talked about like a Eric Cernak on Tampa. Like, you need those guys who just play that role and allows you to create more offensively, because you don't have to worry defensively as much, because these guys are getting the puck out of their zone, and like I'm not doing in my men's league games, and are then generating good opportunities for the players offensively. So those guys, and then it comes down to Ottawa. We don't have those guys. It's those defensemen that are so rare. Everyone wants them. Where do you find them? Like, you get lucky, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
Yeah.
it might be a little early, but like, do we want to save like playoff predictions or like who will be? We'll probably do a whole playoff episode down the road. You're thinking?
Well, we can do like if you want to do predictions of like who in each conference will like Eastern Conference final, Western Conference final, like 2 teams on each side,
Sure,
and
yeah.
then finals as well. We can do full prediction. Do you want to go first? Who do you think?
Yeah, we'll do like Final Four. I think it's gonna be like.
Look at.
Actually, hold on.
I have to look
I
at.
had my East ready, but the West I was thinking, I was like, shit, do I just pick Edmonton, Colorado? No, I
I
don't.
have to look at the standings.
Do you have yours ready?
No. Well, I could rattle like I think I have a pick out of them. So out of the Metropolitan Division, I think we're gonna see the Rangers again, Eastern Conference Final, and then other team. Like I'm telling, I don't want to say Toronto. I could definitely see them going there. I'll say Boston and the Rangers Eastern Conference Final. So that's first Boston Rangers, and then West. So I said I like Dallas a lot. It's going to depend if they make a move. I think Winnipeg is going to crumble too. I don't believe in them, to be honest. I think Colorado, Edmonton again. Same thing. Boring prediction, but that's what I think.
I'm thinking Colorado, Edmonton too, but I think this might be a hot take, but like New Jersey and like Boston, perhaps.
Okay.
You're saying the President's Trophy curse is real, but like this is like a President's team. This is a team that might not even lose more than 10 games in regulation, right? Like it's on, like they probably will, but like it's insane, right, Eric? I'm not like they're having a Montreal Canadiens 70s season. That's what's happening right now. Like I asked my dad, how did it feel like back in the day when Montreal won every game almost? He's like, yeah, it was super boring. They always won. Well, Boston's almost having that type of season. Unreal. I don't know. I always doubt Boston. That's why I never picked Marchand in fantasy. He was hurt. He's older. Why did I doubt? Why I should pick like Bergeron? Ageless.
Yeah. So you got Boston and the Devils against Colorado, Edmonton. Who's going to the finals and who's winning?
I honestly think Boston's beating Colorado. I think Colorado's going to go to the finals again, but lose. They're going to have an amazing playoff run, but then Boston is going to be like a well-oiled machine, like season. They've defeated all the monsters in the East, and now they can just like demolish the Avalanche at home. They're going to have home ice advantage. I think Boston's going to win the Cup.
It's a good call, honestly. Like I'm circling teams out of my 4 here. Like I want to see Edmonton go all the way, but I don't think they've gone through enough, honestly, in the playoffs yet. I don't think it's McDavid's time. I think Colorado goes back again, and they play the President's Trophy winning Bruins, like you said. But I think it's back-to-back. Nate Dogg wins the Cup, and no, he didn't win the Conn Smythe, but I think Colorado again over Boston.
Ooh, love it. That'd be a hell of a finals.
It would. That'd be a great final, honestly. Like Boston, tough path to the final, dominant regular season. Do they have what it takes to close out this Cinderella story and perfect season, pretty much? We shall see. It's going to be Seattle versus Tampa in the finals, and we're all wrong. So
Seattle doing like a Vegas on their first season, like that's kind of what they're doing.
I'm all in on Seattle. If they make it to the final, if they go on a run, I'm cheering for Seattle 100%. I've been on the wave from day one, kind of, and I mess with Seattle.
Yeah. But no, overall, it's been a really fun season to watch. In terms of, like, there's been a lot of points this season. Like, if you look at the leaderboard, a lot of players are, like, more than a point per game. Well, a lot. Like, more than I normally expect. And it's fun to see. It's fun to just see, like, people doing well and like the ceiling getting higher and higher. So I like to see that a lot. Hockey's the best sport in the world.
It is.
This is the reason why. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Did you want to? I don't have that much more. Do you have any other talking points?
No, I think that was it. I feel like capping off with our cup predictions is a good way to go for hockey. Dive in random recommendations.
Sure. Recommendations or stay away from.
Just itching to talk about this now.
Do it.
People who have been around me in the last few days and have talked about this movie with me are gonna just like stop listening to the pod. Like you've already heard this a million times. I'm gonna say it again. So I went and watched Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania on Thursday. Opening night. Was pretty fired up to go. I've been excited to see it for months now. Thank God I saw that it was getting horrible reviews before I saw this. Because had I stayed away and went in with the same excitement that I've had for these last few months, I would have been so disappointed. Like, cannot be understated. They did so many things in this one that I absolutely hated. Like, absolutely hated. And there's a lot that I liked. Don't get me wrong. I liked some things in there. But I'll tell you right now, no spoilers. During the end of the movie, I was like in disgust at what I was watching. Such a misleading trailer. And the vibe that I thought we were going to be getting with this movie, based on what I saw in the trailers, was not this. This was a movie for kids and a step back in the MCU. The only good thing I will say is that it does a decent job at setting up the next movies to come, kind of. But I wish they did it in a different way and that they didn't do what they did with certain characters. Without spoiling it, unfortunately, I can't say that much more. But it was a letdown. Kang was sick, definitely as expected, but also not at the same time. I'm pretty sure you can guess what I'm saying. Kang wasn't as sick as I thought he would be. I'll just say that. And it was a lot frustrating to watch at times.
Was it like Thor, Love and Thunder frustrating or more?
So it's tough to really say that because honestly, like, I didn't hate Thor: Love and Thunder when I saw it. It's more like looking back on it and having seen it a second time, which is why I want to see this again and see what I think, knowing what happens. If my take kind of simmers down a little bit and I ease up on what I thought about the movie, but it's different. Like I thought it would be a movie where things get darker, perhaps, and it was a kids movie. It's it was frustrating. Like you know what I'm saying. So it's tough, but there's good things to come. I know that for sure. Like for sure. Honestly, some of the highlights of the movies were the post-credit scenes. They're unreal. Like I'm very excited for what's to come. Still, I have faith in what's to come, but I think this is a major misstep. A Jonathan Majors misstep. And they showed us some good stuff though in the post-credit scene. And okay, so actually my take on the movie falls back to something that you said quite a few episodes ago about should I be disappointed at a movie because it didn't do what I thought it would or should have done? Yes, I can think this because I think what they should have done would have been better because now they've planted a seed into what we should be expecting, and I thought that we'd be getting the start of that in this movie, and it wasn't that. So it's kind of on them for misleading us. So, and also, once you watch the movie, I'll have to really explain what I'm saying right now. I'm speaking in codes here, but yeah, first take, wildly disappointing.
So, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of wanted a bit of Infinity Wars vibes. Like, little darker, more serious. The problem wasn't much with the visuals and the characters; it was with the story and the writing, saying it was a kids movie, and also it seemed like a filler movie, which is like the movie was just there maybe for an introduction of a certain character, and that's it. It was very like just like a bridge the gap type of movie, just to introduce a concept.
Okay, so a lot of things. It is a filler movie, not really, because it does work towards the multiversal war plot, which I like and was expecting. But no,
Okay.
it's definitely not like Infinity War in that. I mean, like I already said, it's they just didn't do what I think they should have done. Honestly, like, I don't know. I don't want to keep repeating myself there, but
Yeah. Okay.
it's and yeah, the story wasn't the best. Like they could have told this story and cut a lot out. There was too much going on in the movie. You're following a bunch of different groups. It's staggered and broken up all over the place. They should have this should have been like an Infinity War style movie where Kang is the main character. He wasn't. There wasn't enough of him in the movie. Takes way too long to get there. First of all, and once he's there, you're like, all right, let's keep this guy on screen. But we got some dumb stuff, and
Okay.
I think, like I said, the third act, I could definitely see you having similar thoughts to me. But I've spoken to other people who like have kids and stuff, and like they really enjoy the movie. So it's maybe all about who you go see it with and how you go into the movie, into it, kind of thinking. But exactly. It should have been a darker movie, and it wasn't. But,
Okay.
it is what it is. It's right now, bottom tier Marvel movie for me, for sure. Like,
Wow.
mid bottom. It's not one of the worst. Like, that's why I wanted to say this now, because I'm going to rewatch it and then really rank it against other movies. But it's not a top movie. The producers made a huge mistake marketing this as being that massive, like, this is like Civil War. This is a classic. It's not a classic. Like, there's no way you can argue that it is. It's true. It's just not.
So the wait is, we're continuing to wait for our next Civil War or Infinity War movie. Okay. So will that be Guardians 3 or will that be, okay.
I hope Guardians 3 is good, honestly, but I have to just lower my expectations with
Jeez,
these things.
Yeah. That's disappointing to hear. And when your thoughts were known, like when I saw your thoughts on Letterboxd, your review of the movie, I was like, it just deflated all my, like I hadn't seen really any trailer, right? I was really excited and I was like, shit.
The trailers
And,
were sick.
I trust your opinion. Like I really trust your opinion, Eric. Like we have very similar opinions on the Marvel movies. So like I knew like I'd probably have similar thoughts. So I will watch it sooner rather than later, but that sucks to hear.
Yeah.
Very disappointing. I've been watching a couple TV shows myself. I'm just going to quickly talk about them, just one after another. Star Wars: The Bad Batch on Disney Plus season 2. They're like 9 or 10 episodes out so far. I've watched 9 of them. Really enjoyed, actually, more than season 1 so far. Less filler episodes, just like a good old time in the Star Wars universe, which is what I love. And they're slowly filling more holes between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, like more stuff behind the scenes, like questions answered, like just little things, little details that I love. So that's The Bad Batch. I'm also watching on Netflix Vikings Valhalla, which is like a spin-off of the show Vikings. This show takes place 100 years after the Vikings show, and it just continues on, and it's in England, and you get like the historical aspect with a bunch of good fight scenes and badass characters. So I'm really enjoying that show too. I'm only on season 1. Those are the 2 TV shows I've been watching and really like them. So I recommend them both.
Cool.
Any TV shows for you, Eric?
Yeah, actually, Wu-Tang Clan, Wu-Tang and American Saga, the 3rd season's on Disney Plus. So I started that the other day. Really good stuff. I've only seen the first 2, and I want to space them out. They're weekly drops, so I'm gonna try to not stay up to date with them and maybe just binge a few, binge, wait. But no, it's a great show. Like I love the format that they chose for this story, TV over a movie. You get to spend more time with the characters, and yeah, like I love their music too. It's getting me like I've been listening to like Raekwon albums lately. Like it's really fun. That's about it though. Like I've been listening to an album that dropped a few weeks ago now, called "This Is Why" by Paramore. I don't know if you know this band, Matt. It's like alternative rock, and like I.
Oh yeah, Paramore. Yeah.
Paramore. Like I don't really know. Like I'm sure if I heard their songs, I would know them. But I just saw like it was a new album. Like I'll check this out. Switch it up a little bit. Great album. It's one of my favorites of the year so far. It's been a pretty slow year in music, honestly, but I'm enjoying listening to this kind of different music, and yeah, it's a great album. Like solid vibes. Like I don't really know how to describe it. It's like rock, alternative rock. I would recommend that if you want something different and just fun. Like it's a short album, 30 or 40 minutes. They're tops. It's solid. This Is Why.
I will check it out. Yeah, I will check it out. I saw it's honestly, Eric. I've listened to like 2 hip hop albums 2023 so far. Like I haven't caught the itch to like. I haven't like gone full deep into like my 2023 logging all my albums I'm listening to. Like I'm not like in the mood right now. I'm doing like listening to oldies right now. But This Is Why, Paramore. Okay, good stuff. I need to get on that Wu-Tang show. I've never started it.
Oh no.
No, and
Thought
you
did,
and
man.
Brandon's been raving about it. Guest of the podcast on our hip hop shows. Brandon like loves that show, of course. You talked about it before, so yeah, I need to get on that. That and Atlanta, I've never finished it. Like I've never even seen the first 2 seasons. I did watch a couple of movies. I'll talk about one movie. Haven't been watching the best ones recently, but the movie I watched was You People on Netflix.
Okay.
Jonah Hill, Eddie Murphy.
What
Have
did
you
think?
seen it?
No, okay, so I'm interested to see what you're gonna say because I did want to see it, and then like this podcast I listened to just ripped the movie, so I don't know what you thought about it. But...
So You People, I kind of loved it and hated it at the same time. It's 2 hours long. It's way too long. Here's what I loved about You People. I liked the actors. I liked all the little jokes they did. The humor in the movie was my kind of humor.
Okay.
Some of it was super offensive. Some of it was like over the top. I love that stuff. Love the little like side conversations. And Jonah Hill still made me laugh. Eddie Murphy still made me laugh. Julia Louis-Dreyfus too. Like that stuff was good. All like the humor. But then what I hated about the movie was they beat you over the head with these like political things and like the Jonah Hill's dating black Eddie Murphy's daughter. You know, it's an interracial couple. They just beat you over the head with that, which is what the movie's about. I mean, it's called You People.
Right.
Like it's it's going to be about that, but like it's so stereotypical, unoriginal, very predictable. You know what's going to happen. You've seen this before in other movies, Eric. It's like, yeah, we've been there before. Let's go. But I also liked all like some of the like raunchy humor and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm glad I watched it, but man, it is getting ripped apart by some people. And you know what? I can't disagree. Like there was even this thing like one of the kisses in the movie is CGI. That has nothing to even do with the story. It's just like how they shot the movie. I don't know why they did that. I don't know. I wanted to talk about like I want to see if you watch it. It's a movie that needs to like. I think people should watch it, but it's showing like maybe Netflix. This movie may not have existed, but Netflix like greenlit the project and had it as one of their original. I don't think it's a movie that would have like came straight to the theater. It could be very offensive to some people actually, just the type of humor and stuff. Yeah, I did want to. I wanted to talk about it because I kind of liked it, a lot of it, and then I hated a lot of it at the same time, which rarely happens with me, Eric. Like I'm super generous, like viewer. Like when I rate a movie, I didn't know what to rate this movie. I gave it 3.5 stars, like 7 out of 10, because I still enjoyed it. But like, it could be a 2-star or a 5-star, depending on like not a 5-star, but like 2 to 4 stars, depending on like where you lean if you can accept all this preachy political stuff. I don't know. Very divisive movie. Very divisive movie. Because a lot of people did like it, so yeah.
Yeah, so like with those kind of movies that tackle like those social or socio-political situations there that maybe not everyone wants to address in cinema, like you kind of wish that they, like we all know what's being presented. You don't need to constantly explicitly say like this is what you're seeing right now, or like this is what we're saying when we mean this is what we mean when we're saying this. Like just maybe say it in a slicker way that's hinting at whatever the message you're trying to convey, but don't like you said, beat us over the head with it. I haven't seen the movie, but I can imagine what you're saying, and I also don't love that. Like be more Twin Peaks in make us think about it and like work for it, and don't necessarily just spoon feed it to us as people who like to dig and work for messages in movies, right? Like,
yeah,
I feel like that's fair to say. Twin Peaks puts your mind in a blender when you're watching. So maybe you don't go full Twin Peaks, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But no, I know it's too bad that I kind of went at it with that approach and that I saw it didn't get good reviews, so I didn't watch it. I should watch it because I was interested in it. Like I like Jonah Hill. It had from the trailer I saw, there's a lot of like rap talk as well. Like I know I saw a little skit of like you're being like take care Drake, and you have to be, or you're being certified lover boy Drake, you need to be views Drake, something like that. So like that's humor that's right up my alley. So I feel like I should give it a shot. Go ahead.
There's a lot of conversations like that in the movie, which is why I loved it, because I actually understood what they were talking about. So that was great. Like that you'll appreciate and love, Eric. And there's a lot of movie talk too.
I love that.
Like that's the stuff I know and love. But again, it's like you set up something, you don't have to explain like the punchline, like beat us over the head with the punchline. Just like be tact, but I don't know. Maybe it was made for a simpler audience. I don't know. Sometimes I overthink things, but sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe people actually want to see that. There's movies for all types of people out there. So maybe this just wasn't catered. Maybe I wasn't the target audience, right? So,
Cocaine Bear out now at the time of when this drops.
Got my tickets already.
You have them? Yeah.
No. God,
okay.
No.
It looked
How bad would it look?
That looks ridiculous, but again, it's one of those movies that like Megan, I thought it looked ridiculous, but it did super well. So I don't know. We'll see how that does. Okay, it's like these movies like Quantumania, you think in my mind are gonna be like slam dunk winners, but it's those weirdo movies like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, that those are the ones you walk away from being satisfied with having spent your well-earned money to sit down in a theater and watch. So. Anyways, next movie I'm going to see is Creed 3, which I'm very excited for. I hope that hits. It literally will. And I hope it delivers. I'll just say right now, I hope that Creed loses in this one. Shocker. But I think that he's, like, if you've seen the first two Creed movies, have you, Matt, first of all?
Yeah.
Like, he wins in both of them. So it's time for him to lose, because I haven't seen all the Rocky movies, but I know for a fact he doesn't win in all of them. So give us this narrative of the peaks and valleys for this character. Not he loses the first fight, wins the last one in the third act. Like give us maybe wins the first one, loses when the stakes are highest. Like shake things up a little bit, because I'm pretty sure they're going to do a fourth Creed. So that would be perfect to keep this character around. I'm not sure if you've seen trailers for Creed, so I don't want to say anything there, but I think you can tee up Jonathan Majors to be another main villain for this franchise as well for a couple of movies. Or maybe at the end of the movie they become friends again, who knows, but I'm excited for Creed 3 though. That's the next one I'm going to see. Maybe Cocaine Bear, but Creed 3 hopefully is good. And then Guardians. Super Mario Bros. 2, I'm going to see that.
Excited for that too, yeah. Hey, don't knock Cocaine Bear. Horror is really hot right now. Making a lot of money. Look at the numbers from last year. Look how much money Smile made.
Right. Was that good?
Smile was great. Yeah, I never talked about it on the pod, but I watched it. I loved it. It was less You know what the best part of Smile is? It takes itself seriously. There's no goofiness. There's no comedy. It's paced like an older movie, actually, like a movie made in the early 2000s, or even like it's paced like a foreign horror film, actually. Less goofy American stuff like with teenagers, like, like Truth or Dare, those like Blumhouse horror films, Happy Death Day. It's played straight, and it is creepy as all hell, and the main character kills it. The main character is actually Kevin Bacon's daughter, I believe. Actor Kevin Bacon. I think it's his daughter. Yeah, someone told me that.
Okay.
It doesn't really look like her, like him, but she did great.
That movie looked creepy.
But no, Smile that's a recommendation. There you go, Smile. Really good horror film. Not cheesy, not goofy, not funny. Just plays it straight and is really good.
Okay, there you go.
That's all I got. It's been busy around here, so haven't been binging too much.
Yeah, same here. That's all I got as well. Hope we gave you some good recommendations there. And Matt, a lot of fun talking hockey with you there. That flew by, and we'll see if any of our predictions come true. And looking forward to hopefully a strong finish by the Sens. All this to say there, I hope we can at least make some meaningful hockey happen for us there. There you go.
Yeah.
Down the stretch. Any final notes for the listeners, Matt?
No, just thank you everybody for listening. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope you're excited to watch the hockey playoffs like I am every year when they eventually come. Just thank you everybody for listening. It really means a lot to me. I hope you're having a great time right now.
Absolutely. So thanks a lot everybody for listening. Stay tuned for episodes dropping every 2 Mondays. Continue to stay safe. Love you all, and peace.